Right, we are live, I believe. Right, don't adjust your sets. Don't check your phones. Don't worry. It is me tonight. Tereak hasn't got paler and slightly less good looking. It is just me tonight, I'm afraid. So, guys, if you're tuning in for the Tereak Talks preview show that we normally do together, as Paxton's put here, it is a takeover for myself today. So, yeah, bear with me, guys. Never done this before by myself. The last time I was by myself was when Tariq's computer went kaput and he left me on my own, frozen for about 20 seconds because I didn't know what was going on. I was looking somewhere else. And so here we are at the preview show. I think I was on time. Paxton, you'll let me know if I wasn't. I see you're already in here. So big up to you. Thank you again for anyone that's joining as and when you join in. It is just me tonight. No Tereak Talks, unfortunately, on Tereak Talks. He's unwell. He's been unwell all week. He's got a sore throat, bless him. I think it's the dreaded vid, but he's been stubborn and won't get checked. So, yeah, as I say, bear with me as we go through it. If we'll start off, Paxton, as you're the first one in. Let's have a look at the predictions table that was in here from the last 2 weeks. So for those of you that are new or watching this later, what we do is at the end of every stream in the comments section or on the Discord, I will find it if you put it in there, but it would be better if you drop things into the comment section. Basically, what we do is we go through every fixture of the weekend. We give our predictions. We think what they're going to be. Some people like Paxton, Moss, and other people, some of the TTF, the Tereak Talks fam, throw in who they think is going to even score. Not extra points for that, but the way it works is 1 point if you get the correct result, and it's 3 points if you get it spot on. Now, Paxton, last week, you'll see him in the comments always, and on the Discord, links in the description. I believe it's the right link. If it's not, I'll blame Tereak, he's not here. Paxton got, I think, 3 results bang on. It might have been 4. Paxton, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong in the comments. But yeah, so it's been pretty amazing for him this week. He is now clear top with 22 points, with Moss and Wilf getting silver and bronze. Now, a few people in there towards the bottom have only done 1 week. Don't worry, there's an awful lot of weeks to go. So if you are only 1 week in, like I say, don't worry about it. King, Grace, I think you started last week, got 5 points. I do try and give people shout outs in the Discord with how they've done. Unsurprisingly, nothing changed after Monday night's game, that being the Crystal Palace Liverpool game. Not even the Palace faithful, part of the TTF, had Palace down for a draw. So interesting to see how that goes on. We are on to week 3, game week 3 of this week. And I think at the moment there aren't many people watching, and I don't blame you because it's only me. I can see here Paxton saying it's an Ed takeover. And yeah, I was 1 minute late, was I? I'll take that, Paxton. So yeah, and Paxton, as always, been the incredible admin in the comments, dropping in the Discord there. If you aren't already part of it, get in there. It's a very active community. There's a lot of discussions, a lot of stuff about football, a lot of stuff that isn't about football. We talk about a lot of stuff in there. Get in there if you want. Guys, as we crack on and kick in with this, like I say, bear with me as we go through the predictions and everything else. I'm doing this all by myself. Bear with me as we go through it. And we'll probably start off with probably not the best or biggest game of the weekend, but it is for me. Spurs versus Wolves. Now, I'll do the stats and then I'll bring the injuries or suspensions as we have them. Again, that's normally what T does. So if I'm all over the shop a little bit, please bear with me and I'll crack into the comments which I've started. So The last 5 meetings for my mighty Wolves, who I saw live last Saturday for the first time in about 6 years, in an incredibly, genuinely quite exciting 0-0 draw, if you can believe that. The reading isn't great for us Wolves fans here in these last 5 meetings. We have only won 1, drawn 1, and Spurs have won 3. And if we look into the injuries for these two teams, now guys, if you are joining, get cracking. You can either drop comments in, any questions about the teams or anything else that you want to discuss, drop it in there. We will get to Man United soon. So if you do have jokes or serious comments about that team, make sure they're in as well. And as we look at the injuries or suspensions, we'll start off with the home team with Spurs. And they are without potentially 2 players this week. It's not great reading. I was hoping that when I'd look it up that Harry Kane had sustained some kind of nasty eye injury that would only take him out for a day, and that Son had tripped up going upstairs and bruised his right toe or something. But unfortunately, only Christian Romero and Oliver Skipp are expected to miss this game. Christian Romero has some groin and hip injury that is potentially going to keep him out for this game. He's down as ruled out, but it's also doubtful. Essentially what's happened by the looks of it is that during the Chelsea game, he must have picked up a knock. Oliver Skipp is a long-term injury. I think he's starting to run again according to this, but he hasn't really been doing very much since January apparently, so he's a definite out. And someone that wasn't ready for the available for the Chelsea game, but is now, is their new signing Longley from Barcelona. There's a 100% chance that he'll be included in the squad. Now, Wolves are on the back of a big signing today and a big sale. Maybe there'll be some comments in there to talk about that later. We've sold Morgan Gibbs-White for a king's ransom and brought in Nunes from Portugal. Surprise, surprise, Wolves have bought another Portuguese player. Wolves' injuries, as 3 as well. Potentially, Jean Moutinho will be back. There is rumours that he'll be on the bench. He's back in training. However, at sort of 35, 36, whether or not he'll be back to start or even make an appearance off the bench this week is doubtful. Jimenez and Chiquinho are both out of this game. Chiquinho is a very long-term injury. Unfortunately, picked up a horrible injury on his knee from an awful tackle in the friendlies that were had over the early part of summer. And Raul Jimenez is still feeling his knee and his groin injury, and he's not expected back until September, which played havoc with my FPL team at the start. So that's the injury news. We do have T's predictions as well as my own, but let's get into the comments. So there we go, Moss. I am taking over, as you and Grace have said. Grace, as always, G Staffy with her. Hello, hello. We do have a few predictions. I know, Grace, that you put yours in the Discord, so thank you very much for that. There we go. We have a question. So Nunes is apparently in and fully fit. We did sign before last week Guedes slightly earlier than this, and he only came off the bench for about half an hour. So I would imagine he's going to start off the bench for this game, Aussie. But I would imagine his starting berth will be very much there for him. I know he's he's the most exciting signing Wolves have had, I think, since our Neves signing 4 or 5 years ago. Incredibly chuffed to get him in. Did not expect it, to be honest. I thought with all the people sniffing around him at the start of the summer, including much bigger clubs than Wolves, sadly, as hard as it is to say, I'm very chuffed that we've got him in. But as Paxton says, we have come an awful long way since the days of Kevin Doyle up front, about my height, 5'10", 5'11", playing up front by himself with about 17 defenders, it felt like, playing in the other 10 positions. So we have gone a long way. Hopefully, for Wolves' point of view, I think Moss is asking some questions here about where we're going to go with it. I reckon Guedes will start, more than likely in place of Hwang, who wasn't very impressive. He was the only player on the pitch that didn't actually impress me last week from how Wolves were playing. We managed to miss a couple of very, very good chances, including Morgan Gibbs-White, who we have sold for a king's ransom today. I would imagine Guedes is going to start up front and Nunes will come off the bench. I think the plan is for Guedes to sort of play in one of the three forward positions. He can play in all three, but I think in an ideal world, he will play on the right, Neto will play on the left, and we will have Jimenez in the middle, and basically they will switch and do what sort of fluid front threes do, with Podence sort of being first reserve, is how I would go for it. So, in terms of predictions, guys, like I say, don't worry if you're not going to drop it in the comments today. Either drop them in the Discord, but it would be really, really useful after this video was finished that you drop them in the comments after this, so we get the engagement from it, and we do well from pushing this out to more and more people. Tereak recently hit 500 subscribers, which we're really grateful for. So if you could like, share and subscribe as and when you do, as and when you can. So Tereak was supposed to do his predictions first this week, and he has done that. He's dropped them in a text to me. So Tereak is not going with his brother from another mother here in this. He is not backing Wolves to win. He has gone for a 2-0 win. I think only Paxton has dropped in his prediction. He's going for a Kane hat-trick, which would be great for my FPL teams, Paxton. So maybe that would be the silver lining. And a Hwang goal. The only thing Hwang seems to be very good at is getting the ball in the back of the net when he gets chances. But unfortunately, every chance that came last week did not land to him. Hopefully, we will have some more as we go through. In terms of my prediction for this game, I've also gone for a Spurs win. However, I'm going for a more optimistic 1-0 win to Spurs, hoping that maybe Wolves can. My heart says that we're going to get a 1-1, but my head and the way Spurs played and came back against Chelsea last week, with or without that pulling on the hair of Cucurella, which reminded me of the Peter Crouch Trinidad and Tobago one from a few World Cups ago now. I'm hoping we'll do something, but they looked quite impressive, I thought, digging in and playing well against Chelsea last week. Wolves, we came away with our first point of the season against a Fulham team that did not look anywhere near as good as they did against Liverpool the week before. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. And Paxton, you know me, every time I back them, they let me down. And every time I don't back them, they show me up. So maybe I'll take the hit this week and hope that we can pull away with something. But as Moss has said here, look, he was going for a 1-1 as well. But even though it hurts him, he's gone for a 2-1 to Spurs. So, yeah, Paxton, we will move on to your team now. So maybe look away now, but leave your phone or your laptop, whatever you're watching on, so I don't look like I'm just talking to myself here as we look at the Man United versus Liverpool game, which I think is the last game of the weekend. I think it's on Monday night, guys. In the chat, you might be able to tell me if I'm wrong or right there. Is it Monday night or is it Sunday? I'm a bit all over the shop. Like I say, this is normally where T will bring me in with the admin on when teams are playing, because he'll be planning watch-alongs and everything else. But Man United fans, that does not look great for you. Lost the last 3 games, which I think has included quite an embarrassing 4-0 win, if I remember, for Liverpool last year, with a draw and a win in there in the last 5 meetings. And as we look quickly at the injuries for these two teams, and then maybe we can have a quick chat through the comments on how Liverpool and Man United will go. Obviously, Man United on the back of that 4-0 loss to Brentford, that was one of the worst capitulations by a team of that nature that I've seen for a very long time. So there are quite a few injuries for Liverpool this week. Thiago looks like he will be out. He's being assessed, but the potential is that he won't return until September, well into September. Same for Diogo Jota, who was at the match on Monday, I think in his street clothes. Darwin Núñez, welcome to the Premier League, getting wound up and headbutting a Crystal Palace player on Monday night. I think that would have caused some FPL nightmares for people. He is not due back until the 3rd of September, so he is out for 3 games, I believe, because of violent conduct Curtis Jones and Joel Matip also both out with calf and groin injuries. There's a potential for Firmino, who could come back for this game week 3 and maybe slot straight back into his central attacking position. He's at 75%. Insert your own jokes here that Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is injured again. He is injured with no return date. It's quite a bad thigh and hamstring injury. He's had those before. So I think he's going to be one of those players. I think when we look back at his career, he's one of those players that scratch your head and just think, without the injuries, what could he have been? And there's no return date on Ibrahima Konate either. So there sounds as though, while you guys are talking about and thinking about your predictions, that the central defensive partnership again will be Virgil van Dijk +1. It might be Nat Phillips again. Man United, the injuries list, not quite so long, but obviously the issues list is probably even longer. Pellistri is ruled out. I think he's a backup striker. Anthony Martial, potentially not back this week, but there is a chance that he may be on the bench. Brandon Williams, who I reckon it's an undisclosed injury for him, because I think there are a few lower Premier League teams probably knocking around him potentially on a loan move. Victor Lindelof is also out with, it just says a knock here with no return date. Again, that sounds quite innocuous, like the Brandon Williams one, maybe on his move somewhere else. And we don't need to talk about the man who is off for off-the-field things that is potentially ruined his career, as well as other things that he may or may not have ruined. That is the injury news for this Lancashire derby. Yeah, we'll try and get back into your comments now, guys. So we're just talking right now. Thoughts, guys, on how Manchester United did last week. I came back from the Wolves game, dropped in to see my mum and dad on the way home. It was my mum who was overly joyed to tell me that I needed to watch what was just about to happen. And she fast-forwarded all the way back, or rewound, back to goal number 1. And then it seemed like quite instantly there was 4 goals in with mistakes from left, right and centre. So, yeah, thank you, Paxton and Ozzy, letting me know that it is the Monday night game. I thought it might have been. So, yeah, where do we start with this Man United team? Where do we start? I asked some Man United people earlier in a group chat that I'm in with some of the other YouTubers and other people that I've met through Tereak talks. The inconsistency of the scattergun approach for Man United is incredible. It feels like 1 minute they're going for a winger, next minute they're going for a central midfielder, the next minute it's a defensive midfielder, then it's a forward. Like, there seems to be no real consistency with the players they're interested in, players they're going for. I can't tell you exactly what's going on there, because I don't think anyone can. Ten Hag maybe didn't realise that he was walking into the bomb site that he seems to have walked into. We still have the Ronaldo issue. All of a sudden, there's Casemiro, 31-year-old, or potentially just about to turn 31. And there's looking at, is it 60 million potentially for him? Now, he will improve the squad, no doubt. But is he the right age profile that you're interested in? No idea. He's not maybe where I'd be signing, or who I'd be signing up if I was in charge of Man United right now. But the thing is, this isn't FIFA. This isn't Football Manager. These are real people with personalities that Ten Hag's got to manage to deal with, that people have got to get on board with. So it'd be really interesting, really interesting to see this game. It used to be, in my youth, the biggest game of the year, Danny Murphy popping in a free kick and all the other stuff that used to happen. It's a different one to call as well. I think Moss is here in the chat saying that he doesn't quite know where to go with it. Potentially, are we looking at, that there being some kind of change in this Man United team? Will something have awoken inside them, losing 4-0 to Brentford last week? Will it just continue, that they'll keep free falling, as Wilf Creambone is saying here? Yeah, the biggest thing I think I agree with you there, Wolf, is the fact that people like Frankie de Jong not wanting to go there. It's rats leaving the ship, isn't it, and all the other stuff. And Dominic, big up, mate. Thank you for joining. Man United in a bit of trouble, I think, might be the understatement of this Thursday night. You can't legislate for mistakes like De Gea in the opening goal last week, but what you can legislate for is the other three. I think all the other three were avoidable. And this time last year, Boyan and Buemo would have, I'd imagine, hit the post, hit the bar, and hit the angle all at the same time, rather than put that fourth goal in. But running with the confidence. The week before, Danny Welbeck played a centre-forward role that I'd not seen him play before. Big fan of Danny Welbeck, especially in his heyday, but sort of in his mid-30s now, he probably should not have been dominating that defence like he did 2 weeks ago. And then Ivan Toney just looked at both of those centre-backs for Man United and just thought, it probably doesn't matter which one I peel off on. I'm going to cause you some trouble here. And he did. So, yeah, interesting. Guys, if you can drop your predictions in the chat, we'll start off with one of our resident Man United fans. We love him. He probably hates Man United right now, but he loves them still. He has to back his team. He's gone for a Ronaldo. I'm going to say Ronaldo penalty here for Paxton. He often drops that in, potentially a penalty. I did joke at one point today to a Wolves friend of mine that this might be the time with Ronaldo and his George Mendes links and the links to my club Wolves. This might be the time that Ronaldo dons the old gold and black. We can play him up front, tell him he doesn't need to run back, he doesn't need to move until the ball's 40 yards away from the opponent's goal, and we'll, name a stand after him and give him a statue if he gives us 2 years. And Wolf, yes, sorry, I missed this comment. Yes, the sidekick has finally overtaken the master. Right, we're going through here. Ozzy, you've gone for a 2-1 Liverpool win, so going for quite a conservative Liverpool, obviously starting the season with two, you could argue, unexpected draws. The 2-2 at Fulham, you would have expected them to have rolled over the newly promoted side. And although Crystal Palace, not an easy place to go to, again, or not go to play, they set up brilliantly. I think Patrick Vieira, hats off. That wasn't just a defensive sort of sitting back and waiting. That was definite plan. He did very, very well, I thought. Zaha took his goal brilliantly well. And I think this Liverpool team, obviously, they spurned a few chances, went down to 10 men. Of course, they spurned a few chances against Fulham as well. Their start to the season has not been maybe as blistering as people were expecting. David Lee is going for goals. Thank you, David, for joining. Going for 2-2. Interesting, which I think is also one of the predictions that Moss was thinking about. He was going to say 2-2. But yeah, he's gone for 2-1 now. And even if they get Casemiro, I think he's saying there. So it'll be interesting to see where Man United do their business. There's a few weeks left. Yeah, I agree with you there, Dominic, as well. Sorry, guys. I'm going through the comments as quickly as I can. We're trying to make sure I don't miss any of the big ones. If I do, I apologise. Dominic there talking about Ten Hag needing to get a grip of this situation. He does. He came in nice and early, I think, to get this ball rolling. But I think we've seen with some of the transitional teams that we've seen recently, even if we go back as far as when Pep came into Man City and when Klopp came into Liverpool, there is that transitional season. There is that transitional period that might last more than a season. You look at the work Arteta's doing now, the groundwork was set 2 or 3 years ago, and we're starting to see the fruits of it now. The problem I think that we do have is if you grew up in the era that I have, you don't expect Man United to need time to evolve and time to change, because Sir Alex was so good at making that happen in the background. Red Devil Yannick doing the same as Paxton back in his team with a 2-0. Yeah, thank you, Roland Pros Only Sports. If you're not subscribed, get in there. Here he is turning up late. As always, Tereak Talks. Yeah, thank you for being locked in if you are, guys, and I hope you're all keeping well. T, I didn't do your signature start because I thought I don't have the right contrast, shall we say, on my skin colour to get away with it. So yeah, thank you guys for joining. Yeah, the potential is that Tereak is unwell because he finally got to watch the Arsenal at the Emirates last week around a lot of big sweaty men, and I reckon he's picked something up. Yeah, Pro's only another resident Man United fan thinking that they're going to lose this as well. So yeah, it's not looking great. It's not looking great. So let's move on to the next game. So yes, guys, let's talk about the predictions before I move on. So in this game, Mr. Tereak Talks himself has gone for a 2-0 Manchester United loss. So Liverpool winning 2-0 away from home. I have gone for a slightly more optimistic 3-0 to Liverpool. I think Liverpool have got to get back on winning ways, and why better not to start it against the old enemy, against Man United, who are currently sort of staggering around in the middle of the ring, waiting for that little push over to send them over the top rope. So yes, I'm going for the same as T. I'm going for a Liverpool win. I have gone for 3-0. He has gone for 2-0. Now, there are a few gooners in the chat, including Tereak Talks himself, so we will move on. Now, to Bournemouth versus Arsenal. This will only be the 13th meeting between these two teams when they meet over the weekend. And if you're a Bournemouth fan, I don't think we have any in the TTF yet, but hopefully we will one day. I'd be telling you to look away now. You've only picked up 1 point out of the last 5 games with 3 losses, a draw, and then another loss. So guys, yeah, drop your comments in with your predictions for how you think this game is going to go as I take you through the injury tables. And we'll start with Bournemouth. We'll start with AFC Bournemouth. They always catch me out in the alphabet when it comes to the football. So currently they have 3 players definitely out. Ryan Fredericks will be out until the end of August. Joseph Rothwell will be out until the middle of September. And David Brooks, who is obviously currently still fighting his battle with fitness after he's beaten his after he's won his battle with his cancer. He is not expected to start fully training until September, with a potential return in October. Now, he, a few seasons ago in the Premier League, was Bournemouth's standout player in that season where they went down. There's a late fitness test for Dominic Solanke. He's 50-50 at the moment. Potential that he may start on the bench. And there is a COVID-related player out, Jordan Zamora, who is currently out with COVID and doesn't pass protocols until after this game. Moving on to the Arsenal, there's only the 2 to talk about. Reece Nelson has no return date. He's taking scans after a muscular injury, shows that he is out and it's still being assessed. There is no expected return date. And one of the new signings from over the summer, Fabio Vieira, is a 50-50 chance potentially to start on the bench, but more than likely won't return to action until next week with an ankle and foot injury. So there aren't many injuries to talk about for this Arsenal team that have started the season with a bang. So on that note, I'll just talk to you through my prediction first for this game, because I am going quite heavy on Arsenal and how Arsenal are playing. I've gone for a 5-1 win to Arsenal. It's away from home, but hopefully, I think for all the Gunners in this in the chat and in the TTF, I've gone for a big 5-1 win. I don't see how Bournemouth's defence holds that front 3 of Arsenal with the attacking intent from the midfield as well. I have been incredibly impressed with the way Arsenal have attacked this season. It felt like all the ducks were being lined in a row for this team now, with Gabriel Jesus, and his first goal last week is a goal that Arsenal don't score last season or the season before. Potentially Aubameyang could score a goal like that, but I still don't see it. The cheekiness, the cuteness of that finish is something that I think was quite unique. And I think, again, Arsenal fans in the chat, let me know if you think I'm wrong here. But that forward performance is probably the best one you've had since a fully fledgling, fully fit Aubameyang, fully interested in being in the team. And I think Jesus with 2 goals, 2 assists, and the way Arsenal conceded a goal and went straight back, bang, and scored another one straight away is a massive, I think, thumbs up for how Arsenal played last week. Granted, Leicester, no great shakes at the moment. Maybe I'm going a bit harsh, maybe on Bournemouth. They obviously started the season with a very good result against Aston Villa, but I thought Aston Villa were relatively poor in that game. But also, I think Bournemouth were taught a lesson last week by Manchester City, and I just think this potential for an Arsenal swarm might happen. Could be wrong. I know Bournemouth have shown some determination and some grit. They're obviously not a bad team. They're well coached. They've brought in only a few players, so the continuity's there, which is always a good thing. But I'm excited to watch Arsenal this year, and for some reason I just have an inkling that it's potentially going to be a big one this week. But Dominic, I might be being a bit harsh on Bournemouth. I just don't know. There's something in my water at the moment that I just think there's going to be something special this week. So, Farzad Gaming, thank you for joining. If I haven't read it out already, you've gone for a 5-1 as well. Arsenal fan. There's a lot of Arsenal fans in this community, so you're more than welcome here. Dominic's going for an Arsenal win. Paxton here is going for a 2-1 win for Arsenal, much more conservative than me, Pax, there with Solanke, Jesus and Erdegaard. Tereak talks himself as he is, who remembers when Bournemouth went 3-0 up against us and then ended up drawing 3-3. I don't remember, T. That one is obviously one that Arsenal fans remember. I don't remember. Greenbone here, Wilf, going with 5-1 to the mighty Arsenal as well. Either copying me, Wilf, or you great minds think alike. I'm going to say it's the latter. Moss is going with 2-0 to Arsenal, and you don't need to ever guess that Moss is going to back Erdegaard to score. I think he goes it every week. Paxton here talking about Bournemouth having grit, and Arsenal will just about get over the line, which is what his 2-1 prediction suggests. And there's a question here from Tereak here. Ed, what's the ceiling for this Arsenal side, in my opinion? Well, I had them in our predictions, T, in the top 4. I think the ceiling could be 3rd. The way Liverpool have started has me questioning how they will go forward, and maybe something we can talk about when you're on the stream, or I'm on the stream with you next. This is your channel. Wilf, psychic or not, it is still his channel, sadly. I was really shocked with the recovery of VVD, Virgil van Dijk, last week on that goal. Obviously, the issue was Phillips stepped up. Wilf does what he does best. Zaha gets in behind, makes a nuisance of himself. But I think 18 months ago, VVD, it looks like he strolls and will catch up with him and at least make it difficult. And he didn't even get close to him. I was really surprised with that. So, that in mind, I'm still saying that Man City and Liverpool are the clear top 2. Chelsea, they're still scratching around buying players that everyone else is interested in, like Magpies, putting their eggs in other people's nests. So I think the ceiling for this team currently, Saliba's come in, played well. Ben White, I think, has been a revelation. Makes it sound a little bit more drastic than I mean it to, but he has impressed me in this inverted right-back system, the inverted full-backs that you guys play. Saliba and Gabriel. I think Gabriel's done an opposite to the Samson. He's got rid of his hair and got stronger by the looks of it. I think that's a solid back 4. Ramsdale has a rick in him, as we've seen, but he's still an impressive goalkeeper. The issue for me will always be your centre midfield and injury to centre midfield, as we talked about in our early preview shows. Guys, if you are new, they're still relatively relevant. From a few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago now, we did a marathon, almost 3-hour conversation between myself and Tereak Talks and all the people in the TTF, the Tereak Talks fan, in the chat on what we thought of all of the teams. And T let me talk about Arsenal And I think you are one injury away in the middle of the park from being a bit threadbare. So that is still maybe something to address in the transfer window. But I see the ceiling for this team to be third, I would say. Pros only here going with a 3-1 Arsenal win. And Brush, yes, the star of the show has finally gone solo. Thank you very much. And thanks for being here. We have just talked about Man United, so you've come in right at the right time. Brush, I know we're of similar eras, mate, and I can only imagine what it must feel like to look at this now and just shake your head and wonder what the hell happened. Guys in the chat, no idea what you think. What do you think the ceiling is for this Arsenal? Do you think it is third where I've put them, or do you think it's lower down? Unsure where you are with this, but yeah, I'm going with 3. I just think it's a third for me. I think feels right for Arsenal this year. Brush here is always trying to sell quite a few players from Man United. He's the George Mendes of the group chat we're in. He's always shilling some Man United players. Often they start with the name Harry and then with the name Maguire, but every now and again McTominay is dropped in there as well. And Paxton, you are right. A marathon 3 hours is absolutely nothing compared to Moss and T's chats, I can imagine. Definitely, Brush there, Del Boy Brush. Add some strength and depth in midfield. Definitely. Brush, maybe answer in the comments. Man United, what is going on, mate? I know you can't really answer that in the comments, but yeah, it's a bizarre situation. I talked earlier about the scattergun approach. Really, really interested to know what real Man United fans such as yourself really think about it. And they're dominant. Yeah, Arsenal finishing third depends on how well Chelsea and Spurs perform. Definitely Spurs is probably a team I didn't mention there, Dominic. So yeah, good looking out there. Definitely something to think about. Spurs and Chelsea. Barn burner of a game last week. Obviously, Tereak isn't on the stream today because he can't look me in the eye when he talks to me. That's the problem I have with it now. He always looks away, never looks in my eyes. So yeah, so we had some interesting debates off the pitch with Mr. Redknapp and Mr. Neville, and of course we had the angriest handshake I think I've ever seen between Tuchel and Conte. Maybe something for a poll if I knew how to do it. Who you having in a fight, Conte or Tuchel? That was something that came up in our Discord, and yeah, a hot mess is very much all you can say about this Man United team. Right, so looking at this Bournemouth Arsenal, I've gone with a 5-1 win for Bournemouth, and now Tereak has gone for a much more sensible, you would argue, but still backing his team. He's gone for a 2-0 prediction. And guys, if you are joining new now or you're new, what we like to do is either in the Discord, but ideally in the comments after I finish this stream, I will pin or drop in the fixtures for the weekend. And if you could drop a comment with your predictions for each of the games, I'll log them. And every week will be an update on the Discord and then on the preview show after that week, telling you where you all are now. And you're all chasing at the minute, Mr. Top of the comments, Paxton in the comments here, who is top with 22 points so far. And last week got 3 or 4 results bang on and is the most successful single week that anyone's had so far. Now, talking of old rivalries, like I dropped in the thumbnail and the title earlier, we're going back to a rivalries from when teams only seemed to play in about 3 or 4 different colours, and there was no Morgan Gibbs Whites being sold for £40-something million. We are talking about Leeds versus Chelsea, and the stats don't look great for Leeds, with only 1 draw in the last 5 games, with 4 wins for Chelsea. Guys, as I go through the injuries again, if you're able, drop your comments on these 2 teams, comments on whether Jesse Marsch will have another fight like he did against Bruno Lage a couple of weeks ago, or will the handshakes go better? Looking at Chelsea first, just because I found them first, there are 3 potential injuries, all ruled out. And so N'Golo Kante, according to this, but on the FPL, he's 75%, but we all know FPL app lie. He's got a thigh injury and there's potentially no return date for him yet. He is day-to-day. Marcus Alonso, again, not even in training. He's not out for an injury. He's trying to get away. I think he wants to be one of these unregistered players at Barcelona and join that long list of Chelsea players going to Barcelona. And the other injury, again with no return date, is someone I think was criminally underrated last year for Chelsea, which was Kovacic. He has a real injury issue with his knee. And they've even taken a step back, according to what I'm reading right now, with his training and treatment because of the stress that is happening through training. And if we look at Leeds, who last year used to have lists as long as you're on for injuries, it's quite long still. There are several injuries here. We know Stuart Dallas is out until 2023, which for someone as old as me feels like the future, with that nasty injury he picked up towards the end of last season. In September, Luke Ayling is expected to be back, so he will be out. He is back down in his hometown of London, I believe, having some surgery on his knee. Junior Firpo is a couple of weeks behind. Liam Cooper, who is also out. So Cooper is expected to be potentially on the bench for this week coming up, and Junior Firpo is not expected back until September. Patrick Bamford is 50-50 on whether or not he will play this weekend or join off the bench. He's got a tightness in his abductor and he has missed a few days of training this week. And Joe Gelhardt is another one who's 75% on FPL, which could mean that he's 1 or 2 days away from death or he's fighting fit. He's down as 50-50 after picking up a dead leg towards the end of last week's game. Now, as we look into the comments here, I can see that Alid, thank you for joining, mate. This is the first time I'm on my own. So it isn't the boys, it's just the boy. So thank you for joining in. If we look through some of what you guys have said, Paxton has gone for another quite conservative this week, Paxton, with another 1-0 win. Wilf here, who we all know is fully fledged anti-Chelsea, like me, has actually still found a way to say that he thinks they're going to win 2-1. Moss is going for a big 2-2 draw here. We are talking about here 4 goals against these teams where the fans don't tend to like each other. I'm not too sure the players will know anything of the rivalry that exists. And Paxton, you are right, mate. This is a potential top 3 race here. What's comments in the drop the comments in on the potential ceilings for Paxton, Wilf, and Moss this year for the Predictions League. They seem to be running away with it at the minute. Question here from Dominic Martin. Not sure about Jesse Marsh. Is he any good? Does he even know how to manage? Ted Lasso comes to mind. Talks a good game though. Leeds poor in defence and weak up front without Rafinha and Bamford. I think I'll touch on that last point you've made there, Dominic, first. I think without Bamford, we saw even with Rafinha last year, they were light, weak, as you put it. I think I'd agree with you there. You've even gone for a 2-0 Chelsea win. So, thank you for joining in. I would agree that they are light up front, especially without Joe Gelhardt potentially being available. Patrick Bamford as well being 50-50 for this game. Then you're sort of looking towards your Sam Greenwoods and lesser known players potentially to play up front. Jesse Marsh, I think the problem he's going to have is over here. Once you have an accent like that, we immediately don't think that you know anything about soccer ball. And that's not true anymore. He earned his stripes in Europe. Like you say, he does talk a good game. Thankfully, towards the end of last year, he wasn't sipping on a Budweiser, or else I don't think he'd have come back from it when they beat the drop. We'll see. I think time will tell. He has got a difficult position, taking over Bielsa, so loved at Leeds, idolised by the fans for bringing them back to where they think they belong in the Premier League, a big club, one of the biggest clubs in Yorkshire. Obviously, the Sheffield clubs might have something to say about that, but Leeds, historically, big club, always been in and around the Premier League until recent history, and of course, a long hiatus. We'll see. I think this will be the season. I think we'll see it. You could argue that it was in spite of Jesse Marsh, they stayed up last year. Rafinha with some man of the match performances, and some teams really dropping points they shouldn't have done, but they did beat the drop. He was there. He was the manager when they did that, and I think some credit has to go in the bank for that, and we'll see. We'll see where we go from there. But I don't know if you guys in the comments have got any thoughts on Jesse Marsh. I think we have to, set the accent to one side, because I think that can be off-putting. And, I think I've gone through so far all of the comments in terms of what predictions we're thinking of, and I'd agree there as well. Adam Aronson definitely was quite an impressive player against Wolves on the first game of the season. And players like him, Joe Gelhardt, and some of the other players, Sinistera, like you've talked about there, they've brought in some good talent. And obviously Jesse Marsh going to pick up some people from the MLS, and there's nothing to say they won't acclimatise and do well over here. Obviously, players like Jack Harrison decided to go that route, leaving Man City to go to the MLS to come back again. So who's to say? But jury's still out, but the jury's still going to be out on a lot of these managers. There's a lot of managers in that position at the moment, I believe. So we'll look now at the predictions from both myself and Tereak before we move on to the next game. So Tereak, with all of that in mind, has actually gone for a Chelsea 3-0 win, which is slightly more goal heavy than mine. I've gone for 3 goals, but split in a different way. I have gone for a Chelsea win 2-1. So we have both gone for Chelsea wins, and I think most people in the comments have gone for a Chelsea win as well. Moss, not happy there with UT, I don't think. But thank you again, guys, for being locked in. There's more people here than I thought there was going to be without the main man here, and you are here watching the Tereak Talks preview show. It's the admin takeover, more because of the main guy being ill than it is my skills. But we'll move on now. Talking of skills, Newcastle versus Man City, money versus money. One oil-rich club from another oil-rich state. We're now looking at the game at St James's Park from the weekend, Newcastle, Man City, and it doesn't read well for any Newcastle fans out there, all you Geordies. Obviously, Man City have got this record against an awful lot of teams. It's not just you, Newcastle, but obviously a lot of the Newcastle results is heavily caveated by the fact that for a few seasons you were managed by Steve Bruce, one of the worst managers the Premier League has seen, in my honest opinion. Now, as those tick along the bottom, not that they take much to look at because it's all just a row of L's, we'll look at the team news. I'll start with Manchester City. Manchester City have 3 potential injury issues. Aymeric Laporte has had surgery at the end of last season and is not expected back from the knee injury he sustained until the middle of September, in the hope to get fit for the World Cup, I believe. Calvin Phillips is a 50-50 chance he's day-to-day, as the American football and NBA fans will know out there. He has some, it's classed as niggles all over, which I think is most footballers all of the time. There's a potential he will be on the bench again. And up-and-coming youngster Cole Palmer is also 50-50. He took a knock recently in training and is a doubt for the game, but we will see. Moving on to the richest club in the world, Newcastle. Their list is slightly longer. We have one definite injury, which is John Joe Shelvey is out with a thigh injury and not expected back until Christmas time. I don't think he'd be pushing for the England squad anyway, so I don't think that's a big loss to Gareth and the 3 Lions. Federico Fernandez, Jamal Lewis and Emil Kraft and Matt Targett, all of them defensive players, are either 50% or 25% chance of starting or playing in this game. There are some heel injuries for Federico Fernandez and Jamal Lewis, and thigh injuries for Matty Targett and Emil Kraft. There's more chance of Matty Targett playing because he's currently being assessed. He had minor damage to his hamstring. He's missed a few days, and Eddie Howe is confident that he should be available in some capacity. And Ryan Fraser has a lower back injury. He had a spasm over the end of last week, which is why he did not start the game, but there is a potential for him to be available again. So, guys, if you want to, drop your comments in on how you think this game is going to go. And, just another comment there on Jesse Marsh. I think Ted Lasso learned his trade in the MLS, plus Yanks know football a lot better than we give them credit for. Yeah, I agree with that completely. So starting off with the man that's top of the predictions league right now. He has gone for goals in this game, so he's thrown his conservative start out of the window and has gone for a 3-2 Newcastle loss, going for Alisson Maximin brace, KDB, Haaland and Silva. Now, will Haaland touch the ball in double figures this week? That's what we need to see. Obviously, last week the game seemed to pass him by a little bit, but the week before he looked phenomenal. And I think, again, if you go back a few weeks to look at our preview shows when we talked about Haaland, I think we talked about this being the issue, the only real issue for Man City is getting used to having that incredible weapon up front. He touched the ball, 8-9 times. They still scored 4 goals. He still got an assist. If you had him as your FPL captain, he still picked up 10 points for you. It wasn't a bad week for Manchester City. There is still some fine-tuning for how they're going to work with this big number 9 up front. But we'll see, I guess. Paxton has gone for him to score. Wilf is going for a potential banana skin for Man City. Now, Liverpool fans will be licking their lips at the chances of Newcastle taking some points off Manchester City, the way both teams have started this season. And as I look through some of your comments, it'll be me next, Wolf. I'm sure me and T will be down at some point. There's a few people down there in South London that we need to meet. So, we will definitely catch up at some point, maybe before the World Cup or maybe during the World Cup. That would be fun as well. So, Paxton, thank you, mate. My Pirlo take probably needs its own 10, 15 minutes. My point is that he wasn't bad, just slightly overrated. That's where I'm going with that. So I think that's everyone who has dropped their predictions in for the Newcastle Man City game. Guys, feel free to drop some more in. Thank you to Kevlar Snake. Thank you for joining, mate. He's gone for a 3-0 City win. And Tereak talks here in the comments. This is unusual too. This is backwards somehow. This is for me and you to be doing it this way. Hopefully Man City can drop points so that Arsenal continue their title charge. Now, I did say the ceiling was high, but I didn't quite say it was that high. So maybe on your next stream, if you're feeling better over the weekend, you can tell us where you think Arsenal's ceiling is now. Haven't seen them in the flesh as well last week. So now if we look at what that man there that was just talking about, Tereak talks, let's have a look at what his prediction was for this game. He has gone for a routine, I would say, putting words in his mouth because he's not here and he can't talk because of his sore throat and illness. He's gone for a 2-0 Man City win, which is similar to mine, I believe. Yet I went for an even more professional 1-0 win away from home. This Newcastle team is not the Newcastle team of old. We've talked about the humble pie that I'm still eating about Eddie Howe. Really genuinely thought that Newcastle were going to stay up, and we were saying that from just before Christmas last year. I think everyone that was on a halfway through the season had us saying that we were believing in them staying up, but I don't think any of us saw it being, well, I certainly didn't see it being from Eddie Howe. I saw it more about the players they'd be able to bring in and other teams dropping like a stone, such as Leeds and Everton. But Eddie Howe made Matty Targett look like a more than serviceable left back, which I think should be on top of his CV from now on. So, Tereak's confirmed that he did say routine. Sorry, Moss, if I missed your comment, mate. You won for 1-1 as well, so you and Wilf both going. And now, are you doing the same as Tereak? Are you talking with your hearts there, hoping that will be that slight slip for Arsenal to pick up some points against Bournemouth and put the pressure on? Thank you, King. Thanks for joining, mate. Yep, we are doing the predictions. It is just me tonight, so thank you again. Drop your predictions in the comments later or on the Discord if you need to, but it would be really great for those of you watching if you could drop them in. And he's gone for a 2-0 Man City win, and the Mr. Arsenal podcast Welcome. Thanks for coming along, mate. Hope you're well. As we move on to the next game, and we'll move on to a game that screams 90s to me, and I'm going to say that every week because Forest are back in the Premier League. Everton versus Forest. Now, if you want to, waste your time and read those things at the bottom. It looks well for Everton, but the last time these played, I think Tereak was less than 1. So they haven't played each other, even in any cups, since 1999. So as we look at the team news, guys, if you want to get your predictions in for this game, we have Everton versus Forest. Now, Forest, of course, have a new signing that will probably be on the bench for them, which is Morgan Gibbs-White. As a Wolves fan, maybe I can give my thoughts on it. I watched him play in the flesh on Saturday. I likened his performance to a FIFA player that plays holding onto L2. And what I mean by that is even 5-yard passes were lookaways. They were through the legs. There was a little flick when there probably wasn't any need to. But what he was dynamic, fast, quick, and was probably our standout attacking option, I believe, running from deep. He was out on the wing at times as well. He was he was a little bit like an all-action number 10 is how I would describe it. He was in and around breaking up play at points, and his fitness is on another level. Is he worth 42 million? I think only time will tell. Obviously, there's a lot of add-ons there. I think it's 25 million up front with an awful lot of add-ons. Of course, the Forest manager was a big fan of Morgan Gibbs-White from his time in the under-17s or under-19s, the World Cup, where we won it with all of those up-and-coming youngsters such as Foden and Morgan Gibbs-White and Ryan Brewster. So he's a big fan of his. They clearly wanted him. This is the 4th or 5th bid that they made for him. The add-ons are incredible. I think some of the add-ons, the rumours are of him getting an England call-up, Forest staying up, goals scored, performance-related pay. So we'll see. But from a Wolves point of view as well, he hadn't signed a new contract. He had 18 months left. So it's, to be honest, a really good sale now, even though we have a very small squad. To sort of get the money back from Nunes almost straight away was a no-brainer. So they do have one new player in, of course. I think Morgan Gibbs-White, correct me if I'm wrong, is their 16th signing. On the face of it, that sounds pretty nuts. But if you look at their squad that came up, there was an awful lot of players that have either left now or were on loan that weren't viable options, and they really did need players in, or else they would have had not just a threadbare squad, they would have been really struggling. In terms of struggling, Omar Richards is out of this game, as is Jack Colback. Jack Colback is an unspecified illness, and we kind of all know what we think that means in this day and age. And Omar Richards, one of their new signings, he picked up an injury, which is still being assessed by the Forest medical staff, with the potential return for him not until October. And Ryan Yates is going to have a fitness test early before the game to see if he is available. He doesn't think he's far away, but he's not sure he's going to make it for this game. Everton, I think we can kind of already tick off that we know one of their players is probably always going to be injured. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is not due back until the earliest, the middle of September. So as we talked about in our previews, goals for Everton are going to be hard to come by. So maybe that's something for you guys to consider when you are looking at your predictions. Andros Townsend, Ben Godfrey, Yerry Mina are all out. Andros Townsend has a long-term knee injury and is not expected back until January of next year. We all saw what happened to Ben Godfrey. He has had successful surgery on his fibula, but he's not expected to be back in training until November and not expected to be anywhere near the pitch until Christmas, which, of course, will be just after the World Cup has finished. Yerry Mina, not expected back until October. He has an ankle ligament injury. As I talked about, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's permanently injured, not expected back. Andre Gomes is away for a week or two, and it's listed as other. That sounds like personal problems. And Abdoulaye Doucouré picked up obviously another injury that we saw last week, taken off early against Villa. It's a hamstring injury. The only good news for Everton fans, if you are watching or listening, is that apparently it wasn't a tear, it was more of a tightness. So they'll see how that goes. So has those injury discussions changed your mind or explained to you what you're thinking you're going to go for? So Paxton is back to being conservative. 0-0, Forest and Everton lacking attacking threat, and Forest will hold out. Now, Forest, of course, picked up a good 3 points last week with one of the most underwhelming performances I think I've ever seen, and one of the most underwhelming goals, I should say. Interesting shovel pass from Jay Links over to an attacker that was, I think, looking the wrong way, and it hit his knee and sort of trickled into the West Ham net. West Ham obviously had a goal, I think rightfully disallowed, for a charging foul from Mikel Antonio. Declan Rice missing a penalty, and some woodwork was hit last week. The Mr. Arsenal podcast has gone for a 3-0 Forest win. Tereak is there confirming that it was 16 signings. Wilf is going for a 2-1. But he still thinks they're going to be relegated, so he's going for Forest there. Wilf will, of course, probably fondly remember the Nottingham Forest teams of old, like I do as well. But I have them staying up, but 16 signings is an awful lot to juggle. Mr. Arsenal has actually gone for a 2-1 Forest win. Moss here. Foot Moss Sports Talk is something else you could be subscribed to. If you're not, I think Moss will bring you basically any sport that's on. Our guy Moss will bring it to you if he's available and watching it. Forest paying all that for Gibbs White when he already had Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. But I guess he knows what he likes, does the Forest manager. So Omar Richards there as well, being talked about, one of the interesting players to watch. Someone I was interested in watching as well. Jack Colback and Tereak with unspecific illnesses. So Everton 1, Forest 1 from King here, and Paxton. I think you're right here. Every week, Everton seem to pick up not just an injury, a big injury. And yeah, I think Morgan Gibbs White probably the biggest overpay that you're going to have until this man goes to Chelsea to bring their homegrown players up in Anthony Gordon. The money that's been touted for him as well seems mental. Cheers, Wolf. Thanks very much. Thank you. And Moss, thank you very much. And Moss becoming a villain here. He is, yeah. Hi, Sartvik. Hope you well. And Wolf, I don't quite remember that, but I remember my dad talking about it and telling me about it a lot. And I don't think I missed it by much, mate. I don't think I missed it by much. Now, predictions on this game. So, Tereak has gone for 3 goals in this game. Genuinely still seem to struggle with where I think Everton are going to get goals from. He has gone for an away win for Forest, the Tricky Trees, picking up 3 points he's expecting at Goodison Park. And I have gone for, in this game, I've gone with you, Paxton. I've gone for the double goose eggs, as the North Americans say. I've gone for a 0-0 on this game as well. Just watching Forest last week, unsure about how they're going to score. Same as Everton. Cue this now being some kind of thriller, 5-6 goal thriller. But yeah, I think we are getting towards the end of the games. We'll move on now to Palace versus Aston Villa. Now, Palace versus Aston Villa. We look at the results. They're ticking away along the bottom. Doesn't read overly well for you Palace fans if you're watching now or later, with 3 wins for Villa, a draw, and 1 win for Crystal Palace. I will quickly take you through their injuries. Guys, if you're still with me, thank you very much. Do drop your thoughts on these 2 teams. Palace, of course, coming away from Anfield on I think it was definitely Anfield, because they were wearing their white kit, weren't they? With a very commendable, very good performance. 1-1 win. 1-1, well, they will see it as a win. A 1-1 draw. Palace, Nathan Ferguson, you can put him right next to DCL for always injured. He's had another setback to his ankle injury, and he's not expected back until Christmas time. Jack Butland is still out from that injury he picked up in the pre-season. He has got a fractured hand. James McArthur is not expected back until the end of this month, and he is off with a groin problem. And James Tompkins has a muscular injury, and he's ruled out for the foreseeable future. So we have, those are the Crystal Palace injury reports. And if we look at the Villa, Courtney Hawes is still out until the end of this month. Philip Coutinho is a 50-50 day-to-day chance. He was taken off, I think, early from their game last week with severe tightening and cramp in his muscles. Matty Cash is expected to be back. He was suffering more with the heat last week, apparently, rather than any injury. And, of course, there was that ruptured Achilles tendon injury for the new player, Diego Carlos. Someone else, Paxton, that I was really looking forward to watching play. There is no return date for him. The reports that I'm reading right here are saying it'd be very lucky if you see him back at all this season. So, yes, guys, as we look into Palace and Villa, there are some comments here for me to get through as well. So, Sartvik, thank you very much for joining, mate, again. And you've gone for a draw as well. And as we look at some of what's going on here. So, Paxton, as always, and then Moss as well, going with their results and their scorers. Eze, Zaha and Watkins splitting 3 goals between them for a Palace 2-1 win, which is also what Moss has gone for. The only difference being is that he's gone for a big Wilf goal. Both teams are struggling, according to Sartvik. Vieira versus Gerrard, there's a midfield battle that I think a lot of people would love to see again. Palace 2-0 is for Sartvik, so that's important. I think the Palace point away is going to be big for this Palace team, I think. And I think Wilf there is going with me to probably kick-start their season. Chess will be big after that Liverpool result, because also I think they were well worth that point as well. For what it's worth, I thought that their performance was a good one. I don't think they went there to stink up the place. I think they went up there with a plan, and they executed it really well. So, thank you for your predictions, guys. And as I scroll down looking for Tereak Talks' prediction for this one, T has gone for a 2-1 Palace win as well. So matching a lot of what you guys in the TTF are saying. And also, I believe I went with a 2-0 Palace win. I think my slight anti-Birmingham, anti-Villa bias there has kicked in, because I think I agree with 2-1. But sometimes I can't let Villa score a goal, even in Predictions League. There are 2 games left, guys. So thank you again for those that have stayed with me. And if you are new and you've liked me rambling on, it's even better when T's here, when T's doing this. So we'll move on now to Fulham versus Brentford. So Brentford, I mean, their tails are going to be high. Not sure if you guys know, but they beat a club called Manchester United last week. I think we actually have 3 games left. I think I've got West Ham, Brighton as well to do. So I think there are 3 games left, guys. Fulham versus Brentford. The last time these guys met, I believe, was the playoff final with that excellent free kick from the left back from Fulham, Joe O'Brien. It doesn't. No, it can't be, because Fulham won that game. So that must have been that game there, the second one, the win there. So things look good for Brentford in this, with 3 wins out of the last 5. Obviously losing that important game in the playoff final, with 1 draw and that important win for this Fulham team 2 or 3 seasons ago now. And Brentford, who will be bouncing all the way to Craven Cottage, I'd imagine, have 3 injuries. Christopher Aguerd is out potentially for this game, could be on the bench, as is Sergi Canos. Both of those guys have thigh injuries. It's almost a cut and paste job. They both have hamstring injuries, and they're not expected to be back until later on in this month. And Ethan Pinnock is out with a knee injury, and so far it's undetermined when he will be back. The club doctors do not want to put a time limit on when it is. Fulham, who I saw last week, for what it's worth, I think Max Kilman showed Virgil van Dijk how to handle Mitrovic, but again, old gold-tinted glasses. Harry Wilson is not expected back until October. Joe Bryan, who I was just talking about, that scored that wonderful free kick, is out with a wrist injury. Andres Pereira was taken off last week against Wolves. He has a knock. He's one of those little FPL gems that everyone knows about now, so he's not even a gem anymore. He's just well and truly known, as did Bobby de Cordova-Reid. Both of those players were taken off last week during the massive amount of time wasted Fulham were doing. Not that I'm salty about that at all. And Manor Solomon is not expected back anytime soon. He is currently having knee surgery. So yeah, guys, we are talking about Fulham and Brentford. And for the predictions that myself and Tereak have gone for, T has gone for a 2-1 Fulham win. So he has gone, despite Brentford's good, incredible result last week, he has gone for a 2-1 Fulham win. That is a reverse of what I believe is going to happen. I had Brentford to go down in my predictions. I'm still unsure on whether or not they are going to be found out, but currently they are playing very well. But I have gone for a 2-1 Brentford win. And guys, let's have a look at your comments. There is some overwhelming Palace support here, Sartvik, you're not wrong. So Sartvik here going for a 1-0 Fulham win. Goal from Mitrovic, the Serb save here. Yes, very much so. He was a frustrated figure last week. Things didn't come up as much as he would have wanted, I don't think. Rich, thank you very much, my guy. We've just done Crystal Palace. If you can, drop your predictions in later in the comments, or I'll pick it up from your Discord as well. Guys, if any of you are interested in not just Crystal Palace, they do other football work as well. Guys, get over there. They've just hit 1,000 subs, so well done to them. We have Mitrovic versus Tony here, a 1-1 for Moss. And another draw here, Fulham, Brentford, 2-2. We have 2 games left now, I believe, guys. So West Ham versus Rich. You've joined in just in time, mate, to see me talk about Brighton. So when we look at the Brighton game for this weekend, it's West Ham versus Brighton. It doesn't read well. Again, guys, for the neutrals, we have 4 draws and just 1 win for Brighton in the last 5 games. And if we just quickly go through the injury records, I'll start off with the Seagulls. Thoughts on their kit, guys, as well, if you want to talk about it. They only have 1 injury to talk about. That's Jacob Moder, who is out and not expected back until well and truly into 2023. In February time, he's not expected to be back until in training until then. And for West Ham, he did everything but win last week against Nottingham Forest. They have just 2 injuries, both of them to defenders. Ajerd and Craig Dawson are both out. One with a foot injury. Ajerd has been x-rayed and there's no break, but there are some twists to his ligaments and he's not expected to play his first game until October. And Craig Dawson is out. So, guys, with this game and 1 game left, let me know your predictions. Brentford running out of steam here is something Will's saying, with no Ericsson to bail them out. That's kind of where I was going with my pre-season chat. Rich, I've only got one left, mate, so thank you very much. We probably just crack on. If you could stay in the comments, I'd really, really appreciate it. I genuinely thought at one point I was going to be talking to no one tonight. So again, thank you for everyone that's joined in. Paxton is going with a 1-1. Bowen and Morpie. Sartvik here, always giving his reasonings as well, which I'm loving. Hammers are playing right now in the Conference League. Skamaka on the sheet already. So 2-0 for West Ham, carrying the momentum. And Wolf here, 1-1. Not enough firepower in this game. It certainly feels that way, doesn't it? I think we saw some goals from not from Christian Gross. I'm mixing up Gross and Christian Eriksen there. From Gross in the game 2 weeks ago, and obviously last week there was a 0-0 draw for Brighton against Newcastle. And if we look quickly at the predictions, I think matching you there, we have a 1-1 prediction from Tereak Talks. And for myself, I have gone for a 1-1 draw as well. So we are matching there. So we have one game left. Leicester versus Southampton. While I search for that, it's actually quite good reading for Leicester. Southampton were one of Tereak Talks' hot takes to go down this year. With results like this against Leicester, they are unbeaten, Leicester, in the last 5 meetings between James Ward-Prowse and 10 other players that play for Southampton. And as I quickly look at the injury list for both of these teams, so obviously we have Leicester, who are flattering to deceive, maybe let a 2-0 lead away in their first game, and last week didn't even look like they had a puncher's chance in that game against Arsenal, despite scoring 2 goals. Southampton, Tino Livramento is not expected back before the World Cup, not expected back until 2023. Che Adams, there's a potential that he will be at least available for this game, maybe even start. He has been back in training this week and is available, according to Ralph Hasenhüttl. Theo Walcott, one of those players, you scratch your head and realise that he's younger than you think, is still out. He missed the whole of pre-season because of injury, and he's still working on his pre-season routine. So that's it for Southampton, and we will finish off the preview show with Leicester City. They are without Ricardo Pereira, not expected back until the day before my birthday, the 11th of February next year. He has a injury which will have him out for at least 6 months. He's had an operation and he's due another one on a ruptured Achilles. Ryan Bertrand will not feature again this week. He's not expected back at best until September. And Harvey Barnes is going to have a late fitness test on Friday to see if he's available at all for either starting or on the bench. He was out with a knee injury. So we're on the last push. Leicester versus Southampton. Thank you guys for joining in. We've got some comments here. Leicester versus Southampton. Defo last game on Match of the Day. 2-0 to Leicester. That if some of our other predictions will come in, I don't think they're going to be last. I've gone for a couple of 1-1s and 0-0s. I think Leicester versus Southampton for Paxton is a 1-0 Leicester win with a Daka goal. Moss here is going for a Skamaka to get on the board, get a goal, and for the Hammers to win. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Paxton. It's quite difficult sometimes to sort of understand exactly what's the difference between some of these teams. When you look at Leicester and Southampton on paper, Leicester should win, and I think that might be something that Bush has said there, which I've just picked up on as well. But who knows? A James Ward-Prowse screamer. Who knows? Sarkovic here going for a 3-1 Southampton loss with Vardy getting 2. James Maddison maybe before he makes his this might be Maddison's swan song maybe before he goes for silly money up to Newcastle. Moss going for a 2-1 Leicester win. Maddison and Iheanacho and a James Ward-Prowse. I think I would imagine every single Southampton bet in the weekend has James Ward-Prowse involved in it in some way. Hayden, big up, mate. Thank you for coming in. Nothing matters. Wolves are winning a lot. I've been trying to say that for ages, but that's why he doesn't let me on my own normally. So, yeah. So, as we'll finish off with, well, I'll leave that up for a while just so everyone knows that, Wolves are here to win it all. What has Tereak Talks himself said for this game? He has gone, I think, the same as what you said, Wolf. I think 2-0 Leicester win. And I myself have gone for a 1-0 Leicester win. And I'm going to stick my neck out and say that I agree with Moss. I think this might be a game for Iheanacho off the bench to get 1 goal. Right, guys, thank you very much for joining me today on the predictions and preview show. If you didn't know, we do this every week. Usually there's 2 of us. Usually there's a much more handsome, smiley one bringing all the energy that is normally on that side of me there. I'm not very good at all the pointing stuff. If you are new and you've liked what you've seen, thank you very much. We do this every week during the off-season, and when it's boring internationals and it's not the World Cup, we do fun things like drafts. We will definitely have an Arsenal best ever 11 because there's a lot of Arsenal in this that Tereak's going to let me host. with some of your favourites that you'll see in the comments here. We've got Wilf, Moss, hopefully Bobby, maybe King, maybe get as many people in to debate this, get it all set up nicely. Last thing to say, guys, thank you. Like, subscribe if you are new. And if you can, right at the end of this video, drop your comments in with what you think the predictions are going to be for that Predictions League. Thank you very much for watching. Get in the Discord if you're new. Guys, if you want to put your comments in and predictions into the Discord, I will pick them up from there. But it's really, really good for our engagement, pushing it out there on the YouTube algorithm that I don't think anyone quite knows how it works. Tereak's not quite as big as KSI yet, but we're on the move. We're over 500. We're on the way to 600. So thank you very much, guys, for joining me tonight. I can't say Wagwan. I don't have the right skin tone, but thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great weekend.